Good evening. The time is 6:35, and the date is February 8th, 2022, and I'd like to call this regularly scheduled Planning and Zoning meeting to order. Can we have a roll call, please?
Snyder.
Here.
McCall.
Sorry, I'm here.
Guerra.
Here.
James.
Here.
Chase.
Here.
Thank you. We have a quorum. Next, item number 3, minutes. Planning and Zoning Commission meeting minutes for January 11th, 2022, regular meeting, January 18th, 2022, special called meeting.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Shea, seconded by Commissioner James. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay. All in favor say aye.
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 All opposed. Motion passes. Next, item 4, citizen comments. At this time, we will open citizen comments. If there's any members of the, any citizens who would like to speak on any of the items listed, we do have several that have, public hearings, but if you'd like to speak at this time, you are able. We ask that you limit your time to 3 minutes. And first, we have Ms. Lila Knight.
Thank you. My name is Lila Knight, and I live here in Kyle. I had a few concerns that I'd like to express tonight. My first concern is that for 2 agendas now, I've seen that you've had on the agenda executive session. And I don't see the attorney here today, although I guess you could probably call him. But I'm not certain why it's necessary for planning and zoning to go into executive session. And I'm just assuming that all of you have taken the required open meetings training. And I would just also guide you, the Attorney General's office has a great open meetings handbook, and the 2022 edition is out. And you might want to read very carefully under the particular section that y'all are, that staff has placed on the agenda. Secondly, I'm here because of the proposed changes to the zoning ordinance. The memo states that these changes are, quote, at the behest of the City of Kyle administration. Quite frankly, I don't know exactly who that is, but I believe that proposed zoning changes, actually any ordinance amendment, should come from planning and zoning commissioners or the city council. You are our either elected representatives or the appointees of our elected representatives, and quite frankly, I trust you. Also, in this staff memo, there was no explanation at all for why adding bars without restaurants and brew pubs was being added to CBD2. I would sort of like to see an explanation of that. And also, the restriction on car washes, storage places, and gas stations really appears to promote a bit of a geographic monopoly for specific existing businesses. I'm not necessarily a big fan of some of these types of businesses, but I don't believe the role of city government is to restrict free trade and make decisions for private property owners on what type of business they would like to open. I'm certain I could come up with some other types of businesses that didn't require a lot of employees, took up a lot of space. I mean, we could talk about parking lots for that matter. But I also think that a number of those types of businesses are missing on your map. So that's all I have to say, and thank you very much. Y'all are doing a great job.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak during citizen comments? Okay, seeing none, I will go ahead and close citizen comments. Citizen comments is now closed. Item number 5, executive session. 5A, executive session pursuant to Texas Local Government Code, Section 551-071, consultation with attorney regarding procedural matters related to a request to rezone approximately 8.32 acres of land from Retail Services District RS to Mixed-Use Development MXD for property located at Kyle Marketplace, Section 2, Lot A, and 19.48 acres of land from Retail Service District RS to Mixed-Use District MXD for property located at Kyle Marketplace, Section 2, Block F in Hays County, Texas. CSW KC II LLC Z-21-0089. A request to rezone approximately 5.13 acres of land from A Agriculture to W Warehouse District for property located at 1351 Bunton Creek Rd in Hays County, Texas. Abel and Linda Tenorio Z-21-0093. A request to construct approximately 880 square foot freestanding building with walk-up and drive-through service located at 20325 IH35 within the I-35 zoning overlay district. Dutch Brothers Coffee, Conditional Use Permit, CUP-21-0041. A request to construct approximately 5,031 square foot freestanding building and site plan for property located at 2325 Kohler's Crossing within the I-35 zoning overlay district. Midas Automotive Experts, Conditional Use Permit, CUP-21-0045. A request to construct approximately 43,803 square foot office warehouse building and site plan located at 250 Gateway Boulevard within the I-35 zoning overlay district. Hayes Logistics, Conditional Use Permit, CUP-22-0048. A request for a conditional use permit for the purpose of allowing a height increase for future building located at 24801 IH35, ordinance number 1161, section 53-1047, 12, Alliance Industrial Company, CUP-22-0046, and amendment to section 53-1230, zoning, to restrict certain uses and amend the associated zoning use chart. The time is 6:43, and we will go into executive session now. Okay, the time is 7:19. I would like to call our meeting back to order. Next, item 6, consent agenda. We have items A, B, and C on consent agenda.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Chase.
I'd like to make a motion to approve consent A through C.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved by Commissioner Chase, seconded by Commissioner Snidow. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
All opposed. Motion passes. Next, item 7, zoning. 7A, consider a request to rezone approximately 8.32 acres of land from Retail Service District RS to Mixed-Use Development MXD for property located at Kyle Marketplace, Section 2, Lot A, and 19.48 acres of land from Retail Services District RS to Mixed-Use District MXD for property located at Kyle Marketplace, Section 2, Block F, in Hays County, Texas. CSW KC II LLC Z-21-0089. We do have a public hearing for this item. There's no objections. I'm going to open the public hearing. Public hearing is now open. If there's anyone who'd like to speak on this item, you may come up now. Seeing none, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. Mr. Atkinson.
There we go. Will Atkinson for the record, senior planner. Before you, as stated, we have petition Z-21-0089 to rezone approximately 8.32 acres from retail services to mixed-use development, and then 19.48 acres for retail services to MXD as well. Before you, we got the vicinity map up on screen. It's the entire full block behind the Target Shopping Center, and also a little over 8 acres due west of Kohl's across from Marketplace Avenue. just south of 1626. It currently is zoned retail services. They're requesting a rezone to MXD. Retail services, as y'all already know, is our general highway commercial for point of sale service. You know, gas stations, restaurants, hotels, you name it. Lowe's, what have you, big box stores, smaller stores, general retail. MXD is a vertical mixed-use product, which means you have ground floor commercial with multifamily units above on floors 2 and to the height limit. You can also have offices on the second floor or above as well, but in this case, they're going to be doing some residential uses. Generally, it's designed as a walkable, non-car oriented type development, wider sidewalks, street parking, street trees, just an all-around better type of development to just make the city better and for the residents and people to enjoy. Per the comp plan, it is in the super regional node, as shown on the screen right there, the big orange blob there. And in the super regional node, MXD is recommended. So it's not a hard sell. It fits right into there in that super regional node aspect. It's going to draw people from all around the region in the South Austin area so they can come enjoy the facilities that they're going to have there. The vertical component to it will also increase the tax base from a sales tax component and an ad valorem, so that'll help a lot as well. And it's more efficient on the utilities as well when you go vertical versus sprawling. The street system is there. It's part of the Kyle Marketplace Section 2 subdivision. It's very well connected from a street system. It'll help diffuse traffic patterns to 1626 out to I-35 going south, going north even, going down Marketplace. Water's there, wastewater's there, stormwater is already taken into account. It works. It's very simple from a zoning recommendation. Staff has absolutely no qualms supporting this. We actually wholeheartedly recommend it, and we ask that the Planning and Zoning Commission recommend approval as well. Do y'all have any questions for me?
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff? Yes, Commissioner Schneider.
I just want to clarify that this is straight mixed use, commercial on the main floor, multifamily up, no variations on the main floor, strictly commercial, mixed use.
This request is for straight mixed use.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Okay, can I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Chase.
I'd like to make a motion to approve item 7A.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved by Commissioner Chase, seconded by Commissioner James. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, I guess I'll go ahead and go. Thank you for this. When this same parcel came before with the R33, I was previously against that. And really with the idea of where it is, the question is, should this area be for a select group of people and just the residents of that area, or for the entire city? And I thought this area should be for the entire city, and I think MXD does both. It allows there to be things for the entire city on the ground floor, but still have the residents, if someone wishes to live right in that area. So I am definitely in support of this item. Is there any other discussion? Yes.
Yeah, I would say that this is the kind of thing that we want to see in this area. Like, this is when we think about having a commercial space that draws people in, that's exciting to come to. Mixed use is often the thing that is core to what makes that happen. So that makes sense to be in a super regional node.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed?
Aye.
Motion passes. Next, item 7B. Consider a request to rezone approximately 5.13 acres of land from A Agriculture to W Warehouse District for property located at 1351 Bunton Creek Road in Hayes County, Texas. Abel and Linda Tenorio, Z-21-0093. There is a public hearing for this item. If there's no objections, I'm going to open the public hearing. If there's anyone who would like to speak on this item, you may come up now. Seeing none, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. The public hearing is now closed. Mr. Atkinson.
Will Atkinson for the record, senior planner for petition number Z21-0093. This is 1351 Bunton Creek Road on the just southeast of the super regional node and the hospital there. On the screen there, it's kind of tiny, but everything outlined in yellow is the acreage, a little over 5 acres right on the curve. This stretch of Bunton Creek Road, as you drive starting at Daisy Lane going to approximately this point, maybe one lot east, is primarily warehouse and construction manufacturing, which is our warehousing and light industrial zoning districts. This parcel's in the middle of that, and it makes sense that the warehouse zoning request fits in. The comp plan allows warehouse zoning as conditional in this part of the city, specifically because there are areas where it'd be appropriate, but there's also areas where it's not. And in this area, it is. It has Bunton Creek Road to it. It will have the future Kyle Parkway to the north and adjacent to the property for the transportation master plan. It has water, it has wastewater, it has power. It fits. It's a very straightforward zoning from our perspective. Staff has no issues supporting the rezoning, and we ask that y'all do as well. And just as a side note, from a permitting standpoint, following rezoning, it'll go through the site development permit process. It'll go through the conditional use permit process. You will see elevation renderings at that time when they come forward to you, and then it'll also receive a building permit as well.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff? Okay. If there's no questions for staff, can I have a motion, please?
With a motion,
Yes. Yes.
I move to approve item 7B.
I'll second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner James, seconded by Commissioner Chase. Is there any discussion on the motion? Yes, Commissioner Chase.
Just look at, I don't know if you're able to pop it back up there on the
Oh,
screen.
sure, 1 second.
I'm in favor of this. My concern is continuing to go down the road there as you get closer to homes. I mean, we have one ag spot left there, 2RS. I can't tell if these are occupied currently.
If I may, the Tenorio property is vacant. There's no structures on it currently. Mm-hmm. The property that has a flag lot between the warehouse and their property does have a residence on it. So when the site development permit comes in, they're gonna have to put landscaping and stuff like that. Now that we'll also have to take into account the future road as well. Mm-hmm. But there will be landscape buffers associated with it. From a unofficial boundary, if you will, it's probably not appropriate for warehouse or construction manufacturing to move any further east or southeast down Bunton Creek Road.
Yeah.
Because at that point, it starts getting into more a residential feel to it. You got Lehman High School there, and then you go further east, and you got more residential, and keep on going. So,
Yeah.
But infill from this perspective is probably okay.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Motion passes. Next, item 8, consider and possible action. 8A, consider request to construct an approximately 880 square foot freestanding building with walk-up and drive-through service located at 20325 IH35 within the I-35 zoning overlay district, Dutch Brothers Coffee, conditional use permit, CUP-21-0041. Mr. Atkinson.
All right, the first of 3 CUPs related to exterior facades. This is the Dutch Brothers CUP. It is located between Taco Bell and Firestone in the Seton Kyle Hayes subdivision between Lowe's and I-35, the last pad site they have along that stretch of 35. This project exceeds the I-35 overlay standards in intent. We have a minimum requirement of 90% masonry on the building. It has 100%. We don't consider the flashing at the top of the building. We don't consider the canopies or the windows and doors in that manner. So staff is fully supportive of this. They have exceeded code and requirements, and we ask that you all approve it.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff?
No, it's a beautiful building, really is nice.
With this, the landscape that they also put on, could you bring that up?
Yeah, for sure. Give me 1 second here.
Just while you're pulling it up, when I looked at it, it looked like it had parallel parking.
I think you're correct. Give me a second.
Yeah.
Yep, there we go.
Right. Did you know there's a reason why that's there? Are they just trying to get the right number of spots per size of the building, or?
Yeah, it's a combination of both. They, the way our parking ratios are built around restaurant type uses, it's 1 space minimum per 4 customer seats, and their customers will not be going inside this building. It's a walk up or drive through only. So they had to get a special exception from the parking ratios from City Council about a year ago. And to account for the small space of the property, they had to put them in parallel. But they do meet the minimum dimensions and what have you, and they have the amount of spaces that City Council approved. So.
Okay. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, it's my pleasure.
That's all that I had. Anyone else have any questions for staff? Okay. Could I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chair, I move that we accept item 8A as written.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved by Commissioner Snydow, seconded by Commissioner James. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Sorry. All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next, item 8B. Consider a request to construct an approximately 5,031 square foot freestanding building and site plan for property located at 2325 Kohler's Crossing within the I-35 zoning overlay district. Midas Automotive Experts, Conditional Use Permit, CUP-21-0045.
All right.
Mr. Atkinson.
Aptly stated. Thank you. Will Atkinson for the record, senior planner. So this is another conditional use permit related to facades. As you can see on the image right there, that's the approximate location of the Midas Auto Center, south of Evo, but just north of Kohler's Crossing, 2 lots behind the Sunoco, at I-35 and Kohler's. It exceeds compliance, honestly. We worked with the architect on it. They added windows, they added canopies, and it made the project good. So staff is happy with it, but let me throw it up on the screen here so y'all can see it as well. All right, so the top image right there is the west face of the building. So if you're looking at it, you're facing I-35. And so that's where the bays are. That's where one of the side entrances. They're gonna have a canopy over over the entrance right there. The next two, the rear side of it is the side that you would see if you're looking from Evo. And then the south elevation is the side facing Kohler's Crossing. And then the east elevation is if you're at 35 looking west towards the building. So we had them, initially they didn't have any windows with the exception of the main entrance and the vehicle bays. So we asked them to add some windows to there and put some canopies on there. And it made the project work a lot better and be in better compliance with the I-35 overlay. The Midas group was a pleasure to work with. And so we were able to get to this point. Staff has no issues with what they want to do here and what they've presented to us, and we ask that y'all recommend approval.
I'm sorry, can you say it again? If you're at 35 looking at the building,
Yes.
which side is it that you see?
The east elevation. If you're down, well, there's the Sunoco in the
Right.
way, but yes, that's the east
okay.
elevation.
Okay. Thank you. Are there any questions for staff? Okay. Could I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Chase.
I'd like to make a motion to approve item 8B.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Chase. Is there a second? I will go ahead and second. It's been moved by Commissioner Chase, seconded by myself. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay.
Just to clarify, we're going to see the elevation that has just the like windows in the back from I-35. And then from the other side, you'd see the
Yes,
Garages.
the garage doors are going to be facing away from I-35. And there's going to, for the plan for the subdivision, the bay doors, there's going to be two more lots that are undeveloped between Kyle Crossing and this. So those buildings, if you're looking west towards it, eventually they will also block the view of the bay doors as well. But the intent is that you hide bay doors from the I-35 right away, and they've done that.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? Okay. All those in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. Next, item 8C. Consider request to construct an approximately 43,803 square foot office warehouse building and site plan located at 250 Gateway Boulevard within the I-35 zoning overlay district. Hayes Logistics Conditional Use Permit CUP-22-0048. Mr. Atkinson.
All right. Before you, we have our last CUP related to elevations. This is in the Hayes Commerce Center, which is a subdivision dedicated to warehousing and construction manufacturing, again, which is our light industrial. And the building types reflect that. It's in a planned unit development, and they have to have tilt wall construction in there. They have to have higher quality designs on top of the I-35 overlay. So this meets that code. They have, in the rendering here, they have the end caps where they've raised the height to some extent. They have the paint on a checkerboard pattern. They have canopies on all the entrances. They got a little bit of orange metal mesh on each end cap as well to kind of make it flash a little bit. And they've raised the long linear distance of the roof elevation in the middle to help break up the facade. It is on the northernmost boundaries of our city limits. This lot is the north face, the north side of the lot, and it backs up also to more light industrial type uses over in Buda. So the rear side of the building is not as flashy, but that's okay. There's not going to be public really seeing it. It's a service entrance anyway, not a huge deal. But they did account for the sides, the east and the west face. Right here you can see the elevations. Yeah, as I was talking about with the orange on there. And the sides as well. And the rear. And then here is the site development permit. They're the landscape sheet for it. Well, yeah, here we go. And just as a side note, the Hayes Commerce PUD, or HPI if you will, their landscaping has a focus to where a higher majority of the minimum landscaping required has to be between the front building line and the front lot line. So if you see it clustered whenever you see these come forward to you, that's why, versus a regular code. And it actually works pretty well. So they've done a great job. We fully recommend an approval.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff? Okay, there are no questions for staff. Could I have a motion, please?
with a motion.
Yes.
I move to approve item 8C.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner James. Do we have a second?
Second.
It's been seconded by Commissioner Snidow. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Next, item 8D. Consider a request for a conditional use permit for the purpose of allowing a height increase for future buildings located at 24801 IH 35, ordinance number 1161, section 53-1047, 12, Alliance Industrial Company, CUP-22-0046. There is a public hearing for this item. If there's no objections, I'm going to open the public hearing. The public hearing is now open. If there's anyone who'd like to speak on this item, you may come up now.
Came all the way in from Houston, so might as well. All right. Levi Hermes, development manager with the Alliance Industrial Company, seeking a 5-foot building height variance for our industrial project north of Yarrington Road on the east side of I-35. Allowing this variance allows the most flexible leasing opportunities for our project, which in turn allows us to lease to the most potential jobs to bring to the area, which is what's most important to the community. Industrial development trends have continued to grow taller and taller as land prices continue to increase, and this allows for the most efficient use of the real estate. Given the industrial use of the project and in proximity with the Amazon warehouse, the extra 5 feet at this scale, the average person can't tell the difference. Those are the main points that we'd like for you all to consider. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you. Is there anyone else who would like to speak during the public hearing? Okay. Seeing none, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. The public hearing is now closed. Mr. Atkinson.
Will Atkinson, Senior Planner, for the record. This is a request, again, by Alliance Industrial to increase the height limit from 45 feet to 50 feet for their buildings. So they're going to be capped at that. Ordinance 1161 last year that we amended gives the opportunity for P&Z to make a recommendation vote on a request associated in this manner, and the City Council to also consider the recommendation and take action on it as well. It gives opportunity for the public commissions and boards to if they find appropriate specific projects to increase heights, because sometimes it is appropriate. As our guest has stated, the 5-foot increase for the scale of the buildings is going to be really hard to tell the difference, whether you're out at I-35 looking into the project or if you're standing right next to it. I'm out on site all the time doing inspections, and I'm not even a building official, but you look up, these buildings are large. You're not going to be able to tell a 5-foot difference. It doesn't really have an issue, have any negative impact on the surrounding property owners or well-being. It doesn't cause issues. The landscape plan that they have does account for buffering on the north end against the Quail Ridge subdivision. They're going to have a sturdy privacy fence as well, and they've accounted for that. Staff doesn't have any issues with the request, and we ask that y'all recommend approval as well.
Thank you. Are there any questions for staff? Okay. If there's not any questions, can I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Chase.
go ahead and make a motion to approve item 8D.
Second.
Thank you. It has been moved by Commissioner Chase. It has been seconded by Commissioner James. Is there any discussion on that motion? Yeah, I will say personally that based on where it is in the city, if it was in other locations, I might be a bit more weary of increasing that limit. But where it is in the city, I think it's acceptable to increase another 5 feet. Is there any other discussion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. Next, item 8E. Consider an amendment to section 53-1230 zoning to restrict certain uses and amend the associated zoning use chart. There is a public hearing for this item. If there's anyone who would like to speak on this, I'll open the public hearing now. Public hearing is now open. If there's anyone who would like to speak on this item, you may come up now. Seeing none, I will go ahead and close the public hearing. The public hearing is now closed. Mr. Atkinson, whenever you're ready.
Will Atkinson, senior planner for the record. Before you, we have a code amendment to account for certain land uses that seem to want to pop up across the city on a frequent basis, or there's a request to that that we feel that there is a bit too much of. And so we've adjusted for our code to move forward, and we're bringing this request to y'all as a recommendation vote. And then City Council will see it next week. The amendments in question are to limit where gas stations, car washes, and self-storage can be located, regardless if they have the appropriate base zoning underneath. We're putting a radial distance on those from a property line perspective, and those radii for new projects cannot overlap with existing ones. The intent is we want to have better quality commercial development, ones that have higher employment, and that feel a better development pattern in the city, something that's a little bit higher quality, if you will. And I'll show you where we are on this. So on the first item, we have gas stations. Let me share this real quick. And just so y'all are aware, we asked our third-party service that we have a contract with called Catalyst Commercial to do a retail leakage study as well. I apologize for it not being in the backup material, but we were able to get it yesterday, and we sent it to you this morning, where we accounted for that, and we actually have more gas stations than what we need for in Kyle with our population at this time. Currently, we have 26 gas stations. If we hold with the national average per a little over 3,000 per people, we only need 15. So as it currently stands, we are oversaturated with gas stations as it currently stands. So we put a half-mile radius on them as a proposal, and with no overlap. So it's essentially a mile between property lines for new gas stations associated. We didn't completely ban them, though. I'll say that. Gas stations provide a necessity. Most people around here drive a car, and we did account for that. So we put in a population threshold. For any particular development or grouping of developments, if you exceed an additional 5,000 persons in population estimated, then you can build a gas station. So there needs to be a release valve, or a pressure valve, if you will, from pent-up demand when it comes to people being able to travel. So we took that into account. So here's the map that you see on all the existing, in review, and approved gas stations in Kyle. So we had our GIS guys in our department put this together. The other one we did was, where'd it go? Were car washes. And we put a 3/4 mile radius on here. And I'll be honest, there's one other community in Texas that had done this as well. And we pulled a lot of what their code was from. It was from the city of Weatherford. So I reached out to them directly and said, hey, how did you account for this? And they kind of did it based on a driving down the road kind of perspective. Like, how often do they think is too many? And they see stuff starting to pop up from different development types. And then they mapped it, which is exactly what we did. So here we have a map with the car washes that we have in town. We have quite a few. Once again, with the retail leakage study, we have more than what we need as it currently stands. We did not put a relief valve in there for future development. Unlike gas stations, car washes aren't necessary for the future embetterment of the city of Kyle. And we believe there are better land uses that can be developed instead of car washes. And that's where we came up with a map here. And then lastly, we have the mini storage map. The map shown on your screen shows all the existing mini storage facilities in the city of Kyle. We put a mile radius on them, so there's going to be a 2-mile spacing between them. Once again, they're not necessary for the well-being of the city. They take up a lot of space, a valuable land. They like to go in areas where there could be better uses. They don't employ a lot of people. If you're going to build whether it's a sprawling type of self-storage facility, or if you're going to go vertical, we'd ask that you build an office instead, or industrial, or what have you, if the comp plan allows for it. So we believe it's in the best interest of the city to limit these 3 uses. Additionally, I threw a couple of land uses in the CBD2 zoning district, one of them being a microbrewery. There's been significant discussion among staff at all levels that we think it'd be a really nice thing to have a microbrewery in downtown Kyle, where the CBD2 zoning district, which is what this building is, the Hayes Free Press, and most of the zoning around the square. It would fit in very nicely. A lot of traditional downtowns have them, and we do not, and our zoning does not allow for it. The other use also that I wanted to throw in there was a bar without restaurant. So right now, the bars downtown are supposed to serve food with their alcohol. And so we should allow for increased alcohol sales if we find it appropriate. Now, this may be an issue that y'all may decide to vote no on. You may vote yes, and council can do the same. I know historically it's been a bit of a discussion issue for having bars downtown. But any business, regardless if it's a bar, a restaurant, a salon, they always have to comply with the noise ordinances and nuisance ordinances that we do have on site. So we'll be able to enforce it even if we do allow the increase for alcohol sales in downtown. Do y'all have any questions for me?
Thank you. Yes, Commissioner James.
So we're voting on the removal and addition in one item, correct?
That's how the code or the ordinance is presented. Now, you may decide to make a motion for limiting items and then make a separate motion if you want for the items in the CBD2 zoning district. Just however you feel comfortable doing it, that's fine.
We could also do 5 separate motions for
could.
each one of the things added. This is a lot in one item.
It is.
So, okay. Yeah, are there, yes, please, Commissioner Chase.
First, I'd like to thank staff for reading the tea leaves of not only what this commission has said, but prior commissions and city council when it comes to, and the citizens of Kyle. I see it on the different Facebook groups all the time about the car washes and gas stations all over the place. So thank you for that. The second item is, what's our definition of a restaurant?
Oh, let me pull it up real quick. I don't quite have it memorized.
It's an easy one.
Yeah, it's essentially it's a place that serves food for sale. But I'll pull it up real quick so I can give you the exact definition.
And I guess the follow-up while you're looking for that is, does a restaurant require a kitchen on site to be able to prepare food?
So restaurant means an establishment engaged in the preparation and retail sale of food and beverages for on-premises consumption. So it can be a food trailer. It can be a building with a kitchen in it. It could be a bar with a food trailer on site, technically.
Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions for staff? Yes, Commissioner James.
I guess one question, when it comes to the gas stations, in this case, geographic, like the spread to me isn't necessarily the thing that I see looking at this now. Like, I'm curious what the density of people inside the blue sphere or blue circles versus the people outside of the blue circles are. Only because it's going to be, like I saw one near Cromwell where there's like a significant amount of apartments. So they're all using that one gas station. And there's areas where you might have like 2 or 3 gas stations for a good chunk of folks. But there are some areas I saw where there's neighborhoods that are not covered in that blue area. So like when I think about limiting it, I'm thinking, am I limiting gas station access for like folks? I mean, granted, I think that we said that you can do it in the yellow, so I think that maybe that's a question that I'm asking is the wrong question. But
It's not a bad question, but I'll let you finish though. Sorry.
no, go ahead.
Okay. It's a very good question. We did not account for the estimated population within the existing radii of the existing plans that have been approved, that are existing or under construction. However, that's why we did account for future population growth, because we didn't want to limit it so much that it created a pressure cooker situation where nobody could get gas and there'd be lines out onto the street waiting for it. We don't want to do that. So that's why we threw in for any extra 5,000 in that area, estimated population. Now they'll have to provide for that too, if they want to apply for a permit related to site development. They'll have to prove that new development from the data that ordinance moving forward adds an additional 5,000. And that's about 1,666 residences extra in the area. So if you multiply it by the average family size for 3.
Thank you. Thank you. Are there any other questions for staff? Yes, Commissioner Chase.
Just to follow up on that, I think, just to be clear, there's certain areas that you're not going to be able to put a gas station. I think that's where the question is coming from. So if you currently have a density of X in that blue circle, I want to make sure that we're not only looking at that blue circle, that we're looking outside of that and going, okay, what's our distance to from resident Y to gas station X? So it could fall within that. Just because it's not in that blue radius circle, there are areas that are always going to fall outside of that blue radius that could have high density. I know typically those are all suburban, 50-foot wide, 70-foot wide lots. But if we get some more condos in this community, hopefully that density could grow a little bit.
Yes, it doesn't specify specifically what type of residential. It could be single-family detached. It could be condominium. It could be multifamily for lease. It just, if you increase it, you're allowed to put an extra gas station there. I didn't put a lot of stipulations on where you could put it if the population increased. I actually left it pretty open intentionally because moving from the point where we limit it to where what could happen starts to get into a lot of what ifs. So I just wanted to make it very simple from a processing of the code and being able to enforce it. I wanted to make it manageable at the same time.
Awesome. Thank you.
Okay, I've got some things. So first, the leakage study. I read it. Thank you for providing that. What I didn't seem to account for, and what a lot of the map, with how many people live in a certain area doesn't seem to account for, is I-35 itself. Our numbers are going to be different than other cities of the same population because of that. Did the leakage study take that into account? As far as I can tell, it was just population. If it's us or if it's somewhere not on a major highway, it was just how many these residents would want.
I don't know the answer to that specific question. Okay. And I don't believe, is Jason on the call by chance? I don't think he is. And I apologize.
No, it's fine.
I don't know that answer.
Okay.
I believe, I don't want to make an assumption based on how he calculated everything. He is the expert at it, but I don't have that answer.
Okay, right. I didn't see that on the study when I read it, so I was assuming no, but I don't know the answer either. Okay, next. Let's say this did pass, and City Council passed it, and you cannot build your gas station or whatever within that distance. Would there be a process to then say, hey, my project is actually different than all the other gas stations you have, all the other car washes, all the other self-storages? Is there a way for someone to say, can I get an exception? I didn't notice that in the code. Is it a flat no, or?
With the idea and the way I drafted it was specifically for the gas stations, it's by default, if you increase the estimated population in an area
Right,
by 5,000, then you can.
right.
Like, it's just, you're allowed to, if you have the zoning, you're allowed to submit the site development permit.
Okay,
With the other two, I didn't include any special exceptions at all. Now, if that is a recommendation that y'all believe is appropriate, we can account for that and make sure that city council is also aware that y'all believe it would be through a conditional use permit. Now, if we do that, I don't know what the conditions would be offhand to allow that through a conditional use permit. If they decided it was appropriate to have a self-storage facility or car wash or gas station.
okay.
Does that make sense?
Right,
Yeah.
yeah, so thank you. I was just asking for clarification, so when we do discuss it, we have a better foundation to talk through. And then my last one is places that have gas stations attached with them. If HEB wants to build a second HEB, if, Costco's coming in, so is there any kind of consideration for those? Or are we just saying, sorry, HEB, you can't build another gas station because you're too close to the 7-Eleven?
We did not consider it from an ownership perspective, like if it's a larger scale project like HEB or whatnot. We were trying to be fair across the board when it came to limiting it. We didn't want to give special consideration to specific
Okay,
land
so
uses.
had we have passed this previously, like the QT that opened, I'm not sure if it could have because of close by gas stations.
Right.
And then if it did open though, the Costco gas station is going to be within that same realm. So this would have prevented one, if not both, of those as it is now, correct?
That'd be correct.
Okay. So good. We'll talk more about that in discussion. Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Hold on. I think Patty had things she wanted.
No, I was going to ask about the exceptions, so
Okay.
you asked my question.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, Commissioner James.
One thing I've kept hearing in this discussion is like if you increase over 5,000, is that an individual use or is that the total uses of since the previous 5,000? Because that doesn't seem fully clear.
It is additional population to what's already in the area. So it can be as multiple land uses that are added to the area, or it can be a single development that does that. It just depends on the development and the area around there, if it can support that population or not. But it's in addition to the existing population.
Thank you. Are there any other questions for staff? Okay. So I would personally like to take this in some sections. You all can make motions however you would like. I actually am going to, I only want to make a motion for something I'm going to support. So I would personally make a motion to approve the limiting for the is self-storage, was it mini storage, self-storage, that I would like to discuss that first. So that is my motion, to approve that section.
I'll second.
Point of order.
Yes.
Would approving only a part of it stop us from being able to approve another part of it because it goes through the item as a whole, or would we have to split it through a motion?
You can specify how specific you want your motion to be. If you want to consider a specific item, that's fine. And again, it's a recommendation.
Yeah,
vote.
yeah. It's what our recommendation to council is.
Right.
Okay, but my question is, if you iterate through that once, does it go through the item as a whole? Because we basically what we're saying is out of item 8E, we're saying we want to approve X. Does that then move us through the item as a whole in parliamentary procedure?
After this, you can go back and make a motion one way or the other, approve or deny the other ones as well. So, yeah, absolutely. We can do this in any order. Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Veronica Rivera, Assistant City Attorney. One of the things that you can also do is as you can continue to add to your motion by amending it. And that's probably preference for the minutes as well. It's just that you do take the item, but then you can continue to add amendments to it.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you. So I have made the motion, and it was, I'm sorry, okay, thank you. And it was Commissioner Chase who seconded the motion. The motion has been made about the self-storage units, approving that restriction. Is there any discussion on that motion? I'm going to go ahead and kind of go through my thought process on this. So we've talked why I'm supporting this one and possibly not the others. We have talked through some concerns I have with the others as far as unintended consequences we might have with the gas station and the car wash. But I do believe that self-storage units are something that people do not need to access as frequently. That if you do choose to use one, it does not have to be in the vicinity of another. It can be out in the ETJ. It can be in a separate city. Having a limit on those is something I can support. But I believe that both the gas station and the other are different conversations. So if someone did want to amend the motion, as she said, you can make a motion to amend the motion, or we can just go through this motion and then make another one once this one is complete.
I'd like to see us go through this motion, this one. Personally, I'd like to see us separate all 5 items out separately.
So,
But go ahead with yours.
is there any other discussion on the motion to approve the restriction for self-storage? Okay. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Thank you. Next, would anyone like to make a motion for any of the other items?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Jason.
I'd like to make a motion to approve the restriction on the automobile wash.
Okay.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Chase, seconded by Commissioner James, to approve the restriction on the car washes. Is there any discussion on that motion?
So,
Yes, Commissioner Chase.
I feel your argument for the self-storage and why we would want to restrict those applies to the washes as well. It's not a necessity, it's a nicety. Wants and needs are 2 different things. You don't need to have a car wash. You don't need to have, how many do we have now, Will? Apologize, I don't have it here in front of me. I think it was 9. I mean, we're oversaturated today, and I just don't feel they're the highest and best use for our community.
Thank you. And yes, Commissioner James.
I think my seconding of it came from the fact that last time we met, talked about essentially designing out car washes from a specific item, which tells me that there is an oversaturation of these things from the perspective of planning. It would be a smart planning decision to then change where you can put those so that we actually accurately reflect where we want to see those when we receive these back here at Planning and Zoning and then to the council.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. I'm going to, I do fear, because for several reasons going forward with this. I do know that, one, our HEB does have a car wash. I do not want for a situation like, I do not want the unintended consequence of preventing a future project because we are limiting what they can or can't have. If a second HEB did want to come to our city, which I assume will happen one day, I do not want to hinder that. I also, I agree with you, we have quite a few car washes in our city, but they are busy. It is not that they sit unused. I am afraid that the few of us up here are making a policy that many of our city wouldn't necessarily agree with because of how much they are used. And I understood the argument against the self-storage units, the size they took up, the number of people that the few people that were hired there, but I don't see the same with car washes. I understand that it may not be my personal thing I would like to see in a retail services, but I do not want to say, no, you cannot absolutely have this, just because that's not my personal preference. So I am against this item, but that is my stance. Is there any other discussion?
I like Brendan's thought of figuring out where they can go. Instead of just putting them in with retail services or limiting them to where they are, but saying, where can they go? As when we're doing our plans, where should they be? Because I also think we talk about, well, you know, people can wash their car in their driveway. No, they can't, because we're building apartments nonstop. You know, and they can't run water in the parking lot and wash their car. So as we go vertical, they don't have driveways. People have to be able to wash their car. So I don't want them in prime retail space, but I would like to be able to still see them in the community, particularly as we build these apartments. Because this density, people are going to want a place to do that. So that's I don't know how that works, but maybe we could we do a friendly amendment instead of saying hard limitation to currently allow variances, and if necessary, so we get another HEB or we get another big project that wants to put in, or can we do something to where we move it into our planning? Find a space for it. It's a confused question.
I mean,
I understand where you're coming from, though.
right. As the motion is now,
Yes.
it's you cannot have it within, I'm sorry, what was it, a mile and a half of another?
For all essential purposes, a 0.75 mile radius.
Radius, and 2 radiuses, yeah, absolutely. Okay, so that's as it is now. If you do want to make a motion to amend that, you can, or we would vote yes or no on if you can be within a mile and a half of another. Yes, Commissioner Chase.
So I think this brings up again what Mr. Atkinson already stated is what are the conditions? What, you know, I see where you're coming from, and I have the same thought process of why don't we just CPU all of these? Well, then we've got to come up with the conditions as well. Saying that you're an HEB is not a condition. That's favoritism. We need to treat all builders equally here, and I don't think we should look at potential losses in the future compared to where we're at today. That just, I don't see every HEB doesn't have a gas station and a car wash in it. There's plenty without them, and I get it. Apartments as well. I haven't lived in an apartment for a little bit, but every one that I have lived in the last, prior to moving to Texas, actually, I lived in an apartment exclusively in California. They all had car washes. And my first apartment actually here in Texas had a car wash, a place you can put your car. They had a hose bib, and you can wash your car. So you know, I feel that we're pushing a want instead of a need, and I think this community needs more diverse retail instead of more car washes. Gas stations, we'll get to that when we get to that. But as far as car washes, we're saturated right now.
Commissioner James.
Yeah, I think something to mention here is that I don't think that we are blocking out future projects other than car washes. There are HEBs that do not have car washes. There are HEBs that do quite well that don't have car washes. Now, gas stations, that may be that's a discussion for the next item. But this is one of those things where there are plenty of successful businesses where this is an add-on. And the question is, does that add-on then add value to of what we are doing with our car washes or what we want to see at our car washes? And I would say no. Like, I would say it doesn't specifically add value to say that an HEB, like adding a car wash adds specifically a thing that we're looking for when we're planning. And I would even say that it won't stop HEB from coming into our community. The thing that HEB looks for when they do this, and I don't want to speak for them, but it comes from the demand of these services that mainly HEB has, which is the groceries and the gas station, and not necessarily the car wash. That's why they ask you when you get to the car wash if you want to or if you get a gas station if you want to take a car wash, because it's an extra upsell.
Okay. I understand what's been said. I am still against this item. I believe we must be very careful when saying you cannot build blank. And while there could be a strong argument made for any item, I also do think that Ms. Knight's comments earlier today do have validity in that she was concerned about basically giving someone a monopoly in a certain area that's already been built. And I do again think that our car washes are busy and our city is going to grow larger. And I understand there are people in our city who are tired of seeing those when they'd like to see something else instead. But I do also believe our community does use this service. So that's all I have to say. Is there any other discussion? Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and ask for a roll call vote, please.
Snyder.
Would you restate what we're voting on, please?
Okay. I'm sorry, the motion was to approve the restriction that staff suggested for the
Car wash.
car washes, that you can, this 0.75 mile radius.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. Nay.
McCall.
Nay.
Guerra.
Nay.
James.
Aye.
Chase.
Aye.
Thank you. Motion fails. Would anyone like to make a motion for the gas station or any other item part of this?
I'd like to make a motion for the brew pubs in the downtown in favor of adding those.
Okay. There's been a motion made to approve the addition of brew pub to CBD 2. Motion made by Commissioner Snyder. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Snyder, seconded by Commissioner James. Is there any discussion on that motion, the brew pub?
Can I get clarification?
Yes.
So just the brew sorry.
Just the microbrew. Just
Not
the
the
microbrew.
bar without restaurant.
Correct. Just the microbrew.
Correct.
No.
Okay. Yes, Commissioner James.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest things to talk about here is that a brew pub is significantly different than I think a lot of people specifically are looking at when it comes to alcohol establishments. The clientele it brings in, the hours that it's open, the clientele it would draw from other spaces is wildly different than bars. And so I think that there is an argument to be made, even if you do not support the bar function of this amendment, to support the brew pub because of this. Also, I want to highlight that in San Marcos, they lost a brew pub not about a year ago due to the coronavirus. That significantly decreases the amount of this in Hays County. It would be great to have that next one here in Kyle. I think that's a really important business that we can corner. Thank you.
Thank you. I actually have a question, Will.
Yes.
So hypothetically, we're talking about the brew pub now. The bar without food has not been discussed yet. I'm sorry. I don't necessarily understand the definition of the brew pub. Would they be required to serve food if we didn't pass the next, or is a brew pub by definition just a place that brews and sells what they brew, or would they be required to have food?
We don't have a definition for brew pub / microbrewery in our code, but the SIC code it essentially states one that they can produce beer on site. There's a cap per state law that it's defined as, I don't know what the number is for barrels per year. They can sell it on site, but they also have food associated with it.
Okay, thank you for that clarification. So yeah, just my thoughts is whenever I know anytime we talk about CBD1, CBD2, it can be a contentious topic. When I think about that area, I think about three different groups of people. And all three need to be considered in this equation. I think one, there is the people who live in that vicinity. How will this affect them? I think two, there is the city as a whole, because even though I may not live downtown, that is still my downtown. And what is there, what isn't there, does affect me. And then I also think of the people who are outside of our city. When I go to a place like Lockhart, I go to their downtown. I don't live in Lockhart, but I visit their clock museum, I eat their barbecue. And so I think we have to be careful of what we add for any usage to downtown for those people that do live in that area. But I think a microbrewery, a brew pub, does give benefit to all the residents of Kyle and to even those people who come into our city from outside. So again, I am very cautious about each thing I add or remove from CBD1 or CBD2, but I do believe this would be a thing that would be best for our city. Yes, Commissioner Snyder.
I would add to that, coming from, moved here a year and a half ago from Colorado, which is the microbrew capital of the nation, and literally is, and it's become a real economic driver in that state, also for tourism. I also have family who come to visit me from Houston. They stay at my house, and then they go out to all the microbrews. They hit Wimberley, they hit Dripping Springs. That's what they do. And so microbrew, as you said, Brendan, Commissioner, is that it's a completely different clientele. It's almost like a coffee shop type clientele, not people who are going to, it's just a different type of clientele in a microbrew. I like that they serve food. They all do serve food where I come from. I think that's really important. And so, but anyway, I'm very much in favor of it. I think we could use more of them. And I think it would really enhance the quality and the vibrancy of, and the attractiveness of Kyle to other places.
Thank you. Is there any other discussion on the motion? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion passes. Thank you. We still have two more parts of this item that have not been discussed yet.
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Chase.
I'd like to make a motion to deny the fuel station restriction.
Thank you. It has been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by Commissioner Chase, seconded by Commissioner James to deny the restriction for the gas station. Is there any discussion on that motion? Okay, so in this situation, if when we do vote, a vote for an aye would be to deny it.
To deny the restriction.
To deny the restriction, yes.
Okay.
Is everyone clear? Any? Okay. All those in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed?
Nay.
Okay. Motion passes 4-1. Okay, lastly is the bar without restaurant.
I'll take this one. I move to approve bar without restaurant in the bar without restaurant addition to CBD2.
Thank you. It has been moved by Commissioner James. Is there a second?
I'll second.
It has been moved by Commissioner James, seconded by Commissioner Chase. Is there any discussion on this item? Yes.
Go ahead
Okay.
if you're.
Oh, right. I will say, to follow up what I was saying earlier about the three groups that I do look at when I see CBD1, CBD2, I do not see the benefit to our residents to allow bars that also do not serve food in CBD2. It is allowable in other places in our city. In CBD, in our actual downtown specifically, I believe that what we have now with our hopefully approved microbreweries, and then also the bars that do have restaurants, I believe that has a value to our city. But when I'm considering those people who do live downtown, I do not believe this would give enough benefit to our city to be able to support this. So I will not support this item. Hold on, I think Commissioner Saida.
I agree. I think just from a public safety, public health standpoint, people should be eating when they're drinking. I just don't think that that's a good, and from what I understand from when you said the definition of that an establishment could be built without a restaurant, still have a food trailer outside, and be considered, even if we did not approve this, because if they had a food truck outside, they're good. They're good just like a restaurant, right? Because they meet the definition of a restaurant.
Correct.
Okay. So, I am not in favor of this.
Thank you, Commissioner James.
What I will say is, I think there comes a time in which this use is effective. I understand the three groups thought of it. I also understand that you have to weigh them out, and they're not always even. I think there comes a time in this community where we do have to see that there is a demand and a need for that. I also think there is a lot of fear that will become San Marcos because of this. This is going to be the new square. And I want you to look and see the folks that live in San Marcos versus the folks that live in Kyle. People aren't traveling more than like 2 miles to go to the square. Like, mostly it's college students. If you think college students are going to come to Kyle, I can see like voting against this, but I don't think that's exactly what's going to go on. Also, I do want to say, this is one of the reasons I made this motion is because I'm open to a friendly amendment about making sure it includes bars with food. If that is not already in the thing.
It's
Bar with
already in
food
there.
is already an option in CBD2.
Okay. I still stand that I will still vote yes for this. Because I think it is important and a good addition to our community.
Commissioner Chase.
I understand both points of view. I will say that there's nothing in the code that says a customer must buy the food, eat the food when they go to any of the bars currently. A lot of people just go to the bars to have the drinks, and the food's available, but they don't eat it. So that I just don't, and with the way the code is now, I still think you can sell chips and you're within code, or make tortillas and hand out free tortillas and you're within the code. So why not just say, okay, we're going to allow it? I may have just opened a Pandora's box now to review what a restaurant is in the city. But I agree with Commissioner James. I don't see why we shouldn't. I don't see it turning into a public safety issue with hundreds of folks now flocking to Kyle because we have bars that don't have food in them. We already have bars, so yeah. I just don't see the point in restricting it.
Commissioner James.
Yeah, I will follow that up with saying that the difference between Rail House now and Rail House without a food option is not that much. I think there is understandably a fear in that thought. But I just want to say, as someone who attended bars when I was younger quite a bit, that had food sales, I didn't eat the food. I drank the alcohol. And I don't think that what we're doing makes really that much of a difference in the long run to the scope of businesses that we'll be getting in this downtown area.
Is there any other discussion on the motion?
Remind us of the motion.
The motion was to approve bar without restaurant in CBD, as an allowable use in CBD2. So a 4 would be to allow it, a nay would be to not allow it. Any other discussion? Okay, can we have a roll call vote on this one as well?
Snyder,
Nay.
McCall,
Nay.
Guerra,
Nay.
James,
Aye.
Chase.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The motion fails. I believe that's all the items for 8E. Am I correct? Anyone? Okay, I think we've got it all. Next, item 9, general discussion. 9A, discussion only regarding Planning and Zoning Commission requests for future agenda items. Is there anyone who would like to? Well,
I know.
It's okay.
I know. Something I've brought up, and I'd like to understand it more. I support density, I support vertical, I support altitude. I want home ownership. And so my angst with our vertical is it all seems to be rental, which is more transient lifestyle, and there are a lot of people that would like to live in a condo. They don't want a yard, they don't want, is there a way we can incentivize and encourage condos?
Probably.
And that might be a future discussion.
Yes.
I'm just putting that on a future discussion. You don't have to answer that now.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm gonna let Steph know. I know. I would say also in that, can we get some sort of like kind of a market study, kind of like we had now, about where our demand for multifamily is versus demand for single family, as far as like where we're at and where we think we will need to be, because I may think that we might be on the other side of that. But I think that assessing both sides of that is an important part of this.
The other thing that, Amber Lewis for the record, the other thing that y'all are going to be undertaking is the comprehensive plan. And so I think that's a good question to ask of the community at that point, and see what they want and put that back into y'all's plan.
Will? Oh, I'm sorry.
No, I'm just writing down what y'all
Okay.
were asking about.
The other thing, I mean, I know the comp plan's coming soon, and so I suppose this can wait. But based on the council's not moving forward with the 21 and 150 area, both the regional node and the, workforce area, whatever it was called.
Employment.
I mean, I would like to still talk about something in that vicinity. I mean, if we're waiting for the comp plan, that's fine. But if that specific regional node wasn't what the council wanted, something different, I do believe leaving it as is may not be the best option. So I would like to talk about other possible future ideas or, for that area.
Okay.
Didn't we talk at one time about it being longer along the highway?
Yes, ma'am. Ms. Lewis?
Chairman, yes, I would like to ask, and you can say no, if y'all would like to go back to 8E, and I know it was, the motion to approve failed, but maybe to make it clear to the city council, do you want to deny? So if you wish to take up a motion to deny,
Okay.
so that way it's clear.
Absolutely. I'm sorry. Are you speaking about bar without restaurant, or was there?
And car washes.
Okay.
And they also voted to deny the fuel station restriction, and that passed.
Right, but we voted to deny that one. The other
Right.
ones, we just didn't vote to approve. So I actually do understand what you're saying. If there's no objections, since I'm gonna go ahead and take those together. Does anyone think that's, okay. I'm going to move, thank you for that. I'm gonna move to deny the restriction for car washes, as well as deny bar without restaurant in CBD2.
Second.
Thank you. It's been moved by myself, seconded by Commissioner James. So if there's any discussion, we can discuss, but when we do vote, An I would be to deny those things, and an A would be to not deny them.
Chair,
Yes, ma'am.
if Commissioner James, if you would maybe not second this motion since you voted to approve
Oh, okay.
that.
All right,
I'll second it.
that's fine. Thank you. Yes, parliamentary procedure. Okay, so it's been moved by myself, seconded by Commissioner Snyder. So should we go ahead and do the roll call vote again?
Snyder,
Aye.
McCall,
Aye.
Guerra,
Aye.
Aye.
James, Chase.
Nay.
Thank you. Motion passes 4-1. Okay, we will go back to item 9 now. Is there any other items we would like to discuss in a future agenda? Okay, we will move on to item 10, staff report. 10A, staff report by William Atkinson, city planner. Mr. Atkinson.
All right, a couple of things. The big thing is we've noticed the comp plan in the newspaper. It's going to be published tomorrow. So the full rewrite for the city of Kyle. So we'll be hopefully receiving some interested parties for the RFQ by the end of March and moving forward with the selection of those as per the RFQ. So next week we have our entry-level planner starting. Her name is Kayla Sharp. She's going to be working part-time with us until she graduates from Texas A&M in May with a master's in urban planning. She'll be here on Wednesdays and Fridays, and then for P&Z on Tuesday nights. But she'll be helping with also with a comp plan amendment, possibly code amendments following that. We're excited to have her. She's going to be she's a great person in the interviewing process. We absolutely loved everything about her. And I'm also excited to be able to give her a little bit of my work as well. So, but yeah, so we're working on that. I'm going to begin looking at updating our legal conformities code to provide more clarity into what is a legal non-conforming use. We've had a lot of discussion about that at the council level lately. And so just for various properties around the city. And so it needs to be updated. Like I know what it is when I see legal nonconformity, but there's a lot of gray area in our code too. So I don't have a timeline for that, but it is going to happen. What else? Those are the big 3 things I was thinking of. Do you have anything? Okay. Oh, sorry. We have a joint session with City Council on the 22nd. So we do have one public hearing that y'all will hear from a zoning perspective for the Hillside Terrace project that was just annexed. And then the 22nd is going to be a joint meeting. It's going to be a workshop, I believe. And that way there'll be ideas discussed to figure out exactly to provide direction to P&Z and just collaboration with council generally. So. Anything else?
Commissioner Chase.
Quick question. Where are we at on the director role?
Still open. It's open until filled. We've been interviewing applicants and are looking for the perfect fit. We just have really high standards for whoever's coming into this position, and so we're just continuing to work through that process.
So you're looking for a unicorn?
Pretty much, yes.
Thank you. Anything else? Okay. Thank you. Item number 11, adjournment. May I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chair,
Yes, Commissioner Chase.
motion to adjourn.
I will second. It's been motioned by Commissioner Chase, seconded by myself. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed. Motion passes. We are adjourned. Good night, everyone.